Why be easy when you can just die? Woo! Well, I'm Chewy Mew, and welcome back to Venom Month, day number 13, I think, where today we're going to be taking a look at another figure from the Life Foundation. This has kind of been the Life Foundation marathon in a way, and the figure we're going to be taking a look at is a modified, improved, and revised version of my original Riot. So if you see my original Riot, he looks like this, which, you know, it looks pretty cool still. It's the Ben Reilly Spider Carnage head from the, I think, Absorbing Man Build-A-Figure wave. Ben Reilly, where I just took that head, I slapped it on the body. Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure wave Bucky Cap Carnage, or just Carnage, not Bucky Cap Carnage. I mean, it is Bucky Cap. And then I repainted it the sort of blue color. And then I added Abomination arms from the I don't even remember what company made it, but the Incredible Hulk movie, whoever made those toys, it was the Abomination arms on this guy. And then and I've done a bunch of revisions. The custom stop motion you saw at the start, that was like the second version. This one the one you're seeing right now is kind of like the second version where, but now here is my improved Riot Symbiote custom. Still using the Abomination arms, still the Ben Reilly head. These are actually the Bucky Cap boots here. I use parts of Namor, so it turns out Namor's pelvis and torso is bigger than Bucky Cap's. His all of his legs are also bigger than Bucky Cap, from his thighs to his shins, and then Bucky Cap's boots, for some reason, his like shin to his ankle is longer than Namor's, and the Namor's feet are bigger. So I modified it so that he would have certain parts, and you can see the height difference on these two. Where you can see Bucky Cap Bucky Cap combined with Namor's ankles is a bit shorter. He's not huge, like, you know, the Hasbro version uses the monster Venom body that he's crazy tall. He's like 6 or 7 inches tall, or no, 7 or 8 inches tall, but not, you know, enormous. Like I have the Toy Biz Hulk right here. Riot should not be as big as Hulk. He could be wide and he could be big, tall, and bulky, but he shouldn't be, you know, this enormous. Also, shout out to this Toy Biz figure. He also has the foot from the from the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure in Spider-Man. Here's my first ever Spider-Man figure, and you can see he is quite a bit taller than him. It doesn't look like that big of a difference, but, you know, that still is quite a big difference. He's a lot wider than him with these shoulders. Now this arm here, the bicep joint does not work because I accidentally kind of broke it. He does rotate here at the elbow like he did before. It's kind of weird that they gave him an elbow rotation and a shoulder joint, which is kind of weird to have 2 rotations in the arm, but, you know, that's okay. As far as other modifications here, I added a bunch of clay and sculpt onto this guy to make him look bulker. I can't speak, guys. I'm too tired to speak. Like some of the clay included adding clay here, because the way I cut the joint, I cut the joint in order to give this more space to move, but then I cut too much that this arm, all the plastic holding this arm together just came off. So then I had to sculpt clay. I put some dried paint on the bottom. Dried paint for me basically works the same as like, for me dried paint basically has like this kind of material, so I can use it to attach parts and hook parts together. And that's what I did to hook these arms, and then I put clay on them over top to like secure it better. The chest has a bunch of clay and stuff here on the stomach. It doesn't hinder the joints. I really like the click on this. Listen to that. I really like the clicking on that. I did add some on the chest just to make the body pop out a little bit more. Also, when you take the arms off, I had to take the arms off to put these ones on. You do have some paint chipping, like here when you rotate the waist, you do have some paint chipping there. I tried my best to not have that happen, but it kind of did. I added some of these spikes. The most prominent thing is obviously the arms being different and the spikes here. I added a couple spikes here on the back. I added a bunch of clay to sort of cover up Namor's details. So I added the clay. I could have just sculpted these spikes and then super glued them on, but I actually took globs of clay and then I sculpted the spikes out, and then I attached the rest of the clay to the body. I put some here on the thigh. It doesn't block the posability. As you can see, it doesn't block it. He couldn't do the splits good anyway, so I decided to pack on some clay here because his splits are bad, so it's not really that useful. But also, I feel like the symbiotes should be very flexible, just like Spider-Man, because they're, you know, flexible characters. Like Venom, he's flexible too, even though he's bigger than Spider-Man, but the symbiotes kind of allow that to happen. But him not being super as flexible as, say, something like Lasher. To me, that's okay, because he's bigger, and having these arms that give single joint elbows and no wrists, no hinges, basically just ball joint shoulder and rotation in the elbow, and then hinge in the arm. You do only have like 3 points of posability in the arm, so to me, him not having a very good ab crunch or good splits is okay. And then you can see all the paint I added, the paint rubbing off on these joints. You know, whatever, it's gonna happen. The rubbing off on the ankles, the ankle rocker, for some reason, the paint doesn't rub off when you move that, but it does come off of the hinge where it actually hinges. That's kind of weird. And then the elbows too, like I said, the arms going up as well, you know. I will say the one of the good things about Hasbro using these legs instead of using the disc T-hips, or the T-hips that have like the disc joint, is that when you bend them, the paint doesn't rub off on the side here, which, it's not a big deal to me, but that's one of the cool benefits of having this joint. Also, Namor having the black knees, for some reason the paint stays on these really good, and this part it doesn't, but the knees being black, it's not as noticeable as if like you paint a figure green and then you have the red parts coming off, like this. I mean, it's not green, but you know. You may notice the arms are sticking out a bit far, and that's because the coolest part of this custom, or one of the cooler parts of this custom as well, is you can take the arms off on both sides. And the way I did this was, I cut these pins to be really tiny. It did have like the full big pin, like you know what they look like, right? Like the way that the hinge looks, it's a big thick piece that sticks out, so when you put it on the arm it rotates. And I cut these really small, and then using Bucky Cap's knee joints. So if you've seen the figure's knee joints before, or no, not Bucky Cap's knee joints, it was his elbow joints. I don't happen to have any lying around. Okay, so this is the disc part I'm talking about. So the arm, when you have the arm in, it has this kind of piece that hooks on. But if you cut them really small, you can put the arms out and take them off. This being a hard piece of plastic, and like I said, these being these being Carnage's elbow joints, it's the same as this. This is the Elektra elbow joint, which I used for a custom, and this is fodder now. I basically just, you know, made the hole a bit bigger, then I just stuck these arms on here. And because this is a squishier plastic, it's not going to rub off and it's not going to break. Like if I was to use a hard piece of plastic, something like, you know, the body kind of plastic, it would break after a while, or it would get loose. But being that rubbery plastic, it's not going to get loose. And taking those arms off allows me to swap on the other arms I have for this figure. These are Namor's arms with weapons on the end. We can pop them in here. They don't make the satisfying click, which that's okay. Because the holes here on the arms, you can see if you look at these two, the holes, like the shape of the pins are not identical. So it's not going to work the same. I did originally make it for these arms. These ones work as well. And then they do have a very similar articulation. What I also like about Namor versus the Bucky Cap is how his shoulders are bigger. And the bigger shoulders look kind of better. They're not exactly level just because, like I said, the pins are different. So they're not going to look identical on both sides. But they look pretty good. I think I actually... Oh, I know why it looks so weird. That's because this part is supposed to go inside of his arm. Oh, because his arm here is broke, so it doesn't rotate. And I accidentally put the joint upside the wrong way. This part's supposed to go in his arm, and the joint right on that's in his arm is supposed to go in the torso. So the arm joint, it's supposed to go like this. So it looks kind of different, but that's okay. It works good. It allows rotation and movement and stuff, and that's what matters. So the only thing this figure is missing from that is his shoulder's broken, so it's not working the best. You still got like double joint elbows in the hinge and rotation in the wrist. You get these custom weapons. Like I said, paint rub. You get some paint rub on these joints, which to me, that's fine. You get paint rub on this. I don't know why that pin is paint rub. For some reason, some joints on figures, the paint just does not stay. Like one custom I was making, I don't remember what it was. I was trying to paint on, I think it was like eyes on Sinister Six Man. I was trying to repaint his eyes, and I painted on, and I would let it dry for like 2 hours, and when I touched the eye, the paint would just rub off, like it would come off like dust, like that easily. So maybe that happened here, I guess? I don't know. And these ones look pretty cool. So this is like a spiked ball, and what I did was, I just took Namor's, his hands that were like this, and then I just sculpted clay onto them to make it look like, you know, like a mace hand. Because he's the only symbiote that you actually see him turning his hands into weapons. Same thing with this arm, which I think this looks good. You can see this actually is a squishy material, version of clay. So I have clay, like hard clay. Like this one, I used hard clay for this. Maybe, no, I actually used squishy clay. But there's hard clay. I think I have a piece right here. Let me grab it really quick. Like this piece is a hard piece of clay where you see it doesn't bend. If you try bending it, it will break. Versus this clay is the same as this one that's on his body. You can see it's rubbery. I tried making a Green Goblin bag, and it didn't work too good because this broke. But it's a lot squishier. You can see it's a lot more flexible. According to the packaging, it says you can even twist it and it doesn't break. So it's really, really high quality, squishier clay, whereas this one is hard, so it breaks. And using that, like if I drop the figure, I don't want to drop it because what if the arms break off or something? These pins are potentially could break. But yeah, so that way this was really hard because it's very thick. But this being squishy allows it to, it makes it less likely that if you drop it, it's less likely to break. Which that clay is really, really strong. That's really good clay. I mean, it's also supposed to be bendable, so it's not going to break. You could rip it, but you can't crack it, you know? But these arms look cool. I was trying to see if I could find a way to make, to take these hands off and put these weapons on the hand, but I would have to cut them off with like a saw, and then that could be a disaster. Who knows? It might get ruined. I might not be able to put it back on. You know, it could end very poorly. So I'm not going to do that, but that would be cool if I could, like if you could have this axe hand here. They're a bit too small, but I like these arms. I like the ability to be able to change the arms here. The inspiration for this was actually the Toy Biz Absorbing Man. The Toy Biz Absorbing Man has these kind of arms that you can pop off his shoulders, and then you can switch between like a Hulk arm, a sand arm, metal arm, you know, stuff like that. The Hasbro one does that too, but let's be honest, they copied Toy Biz. So I kind of did it like this, so I can have interchangeable arms and stuff, which looks pretty cool. I feel like with all the clay I added, that makes his chest bigger, his height being taller, having these spikes on his legs, it makes his arms look kind of skinny. This arm is kind of loose here, but it's better for the arm to be loose than really tight, because if it's really tight, that means it'll ruin the peg hole. I tried adding some clay on the arms, but it didn't look as good. Like some parts I did add clay, and you can kind of notice it. But other parts, I tried putting on, and it just looked kind of weird, so I took it off. Like on the bicep, I put some on the back. On the back, it looked okay, but on the side and the front, it looked kind of weird. But out of these arms, I still prefer having these arms instead. These ones also fit a lot nicer, because I originally made the body for these arms. They are very heavy, though. So when I put these arms, I put them either all the way up. I don't put them, you know, like this level, because what if they sag down and makes them loose and stuff? I mean, obviously, I could probably... So, I think this is probably my best Life Foundation Symbiote custom. Maybe even my best Symbiote custom in general. Because I have some really good customs. I think this is probably my best Symbiote one. Just because the amount of sculpt I put on this. Interchangeable arms. But either way, that's all for this video. Let me know what you think about this custom, and I will see you guys in the next day of Venom Month. Wow.